Ewok, I just went ahead and DM'd you Richard's follow-up tweet from Sunday. I wanted to take a quick look at that as well. And there's actually a response that got a lot of attention from Toby Juan underneath it that I think kind of represents the I don't want to say dissenting opinion, but the any opinion that could be dissenting basically against what Richard had tweeted here. What I think Toby kind of summed it up. So we'll take a look at that too. It's going to be the first comment to the tweet that I just sent you. So he followed it up that day with, guys, I'm trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to get the Ethereum fees down. Moving load from ETH to Pulse Chain achieves that. Onboards not getting murdered by slippage in and out is also nice. On Pulse Chain, you can get 1.5% slippage for 100K eHEX buy. And in the best case, there's an example of using an aggregator to get more HEX for your dollars on ETH. It uses $272 of gas to get you 12% slippage, which is better than not using one, which gets you 23% slippage. You get beat up the other direction as well if you sold. Besides you owning some, why would you suggest somebody buy eHEX over HEX? So again, he's saying one's better than the other. He's saying, why would you suggest somebody buy eHEX over HEX? I can't necessarily argue too much with that, but I want to, if you scroll down, I want you to see Toby's response. It's the first comment under here because I can't see. I'm trying to see your screen. Yeah, right there. You got it. Yeah. So this is interesting because I think Toby kind of represented the other side of this. So he said, I hear you and I get it, but you're playing a dangerous game. Obviously, for all the reasons you stated, pHEX is the better option. And again, I think everybody agrees with that. But for those less concerned about gas, larger players that have more confidence in ETH as they've never heard of Pulse Chain till I've told them personally, something that we referenced a minute ago, they're simply more comfortable on Ethereum for better or worse. And these same people generally are more inclined to buy and hold liquid eHEX as it's the original HEX that we literally made a movie about, and it's on the number 2 blockchain in the world. Eventually, I'm able to get most to learn and participate on Pulse Chain, but the first experience is often eHEX. But with the chart being so easily wrecked by a tweet, and I mean, I get what he's saying, wrecked by a tweet. It wasn't really the tweet. It was all the idiots who sold. And the subsequent flood of people running from the one you, according to them, have disowned. It just takes away from a stepping stone that did eventually often lead to Pulse Chain. Here's an example of a small onboard that I gifted $100 each of all 5 of your tokens to last week. There's a picture down there. Basically, eHEX is dead and everything else looks good. Many other bigger onboards wanted to try eHEX first and see. Those that got in recently are wrecked now and not interested in learning more. I mean, I don't know about all that. If somebody just bought all of them and one of the 5 bags fell, it's like, well, that's why we bought all 5. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I would say. And that's why, credit to Toby. If he's onboarding people and telling them to buy all of them, that's the right thing to do. That's exactly what I would have done.
Yep.
So I have a couple points I want to get to there. Like, who does this really hurt the most, I guess, we'll get to in a moment. But what do you make of that follow-up tweet from Richard, though, and Toby's response? I'm sure you have some feelings because, you're very similar to Toby. I mean, like, you were kind of around at that time, too, and are a HEX OG. So what do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. And it's very similar to what I said earlier. People that are comfortable with Ethereum chain, that's what they're comfortable with. You kind of got to... It's like the pool floaties, before they can take them off, it's like you got to get them with what they're comfortable with. And until it's time to take the training wheels off, make them kind of learn it. Obviously, we want the same thing. Anybody that I've onboarded or told anything, I'm like, you got to get some of that too. Get some Pulse X, dip a little incentive. But you want a little bit of each just to kind of protect yourself because you don't know which one's going to do better. I mean, obviously, I think we're all going to do pretty good, but yeah, it's just hard to get people to play in a playground that they're not familiar with. And the people that have money don't care about fees. The problem is the little guys. Obviously, if somebody's only going to put $100, $200 in, you want to direct them to Pulse Chain because you would get nothing with $200 at this point on the Ethereum chain. You're going to lose everything in fees, and you're not going to have anything anyway. So it just there's no point in it. So that's kind of where I stand. I mean, I agree with Toby's point. Obviously, HEX is still HEX, though. The movie was made. Was it about Richard? Was it about Hex? Was it about what was it? What was it really about? It was a documentary about the whole kind of ecosystem. In
Hmm.
the end, did talk about Pulse Chain. So, you know, I don't know. I get both sides. Again, Richard never said sell your stuff. So,
Right.
the whales are going to be whales. And that's kind of why I still see eHEX hanging out okay. People still want yield. T-shares are still T-shares. Those guys don't really care about gas fees. There are other options too. There's perpetuals that you don't have to pay an end stake fee if you get into those. So there are solutions out there. And yes, we know Pulse Chain is better. We're not arguing that at all. Um, just kind of stating the obvious of why people do what they do and why they're reacting the way they are.
Yes, I agree. And I wanted to ask you this. And this is maybe like a weighty question. Maybe it's dramatic. I don't want to sound like a concern troll or something like this, but I want to ask you: do you think that Richard? I have a hard time like blaming Richard for this. I blame the people who can't read and just react. That's really who I blame. So maybe this is a dumb question to begin with, but I wrote it down. So what the hell? Has RH inadvertently really hurt the HEX long-term narrative here? Because again, I said this at the top of the show, people can pretend whatever they want to about what's happened since that tweet. It has not been an eHEX sell-off into HEX. Okay, that has not happened here. Maybe here and there. Either way, not necessarily a great trade right now. But it's been a sell-off of HEX, period. Both HEXs into Pulse and Pulse X. That's what we've seen. I mean, Pulse and Pulse X have come up since then, especially Pulse X. The bigger thing is that HEX has gone down. As we sit here right now, it's actually gone down even more a little bit just during our show here at about 2.2 cents. So, what do you make of that? I mean, I didn't pay attention to everybody to what I said. I said, is he inadvertently hurt HEX long term, the long term narrative here by
Nope.
saying that? I didn't say that it's dead or anything. So,
Nope.
yeah.
Like I
What do you
said,
think?
3 months, people are going to forget. That's kind of how it works. Um, we'll be on to the latest and greatest drama or whatever that is. And, we got to remember that Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, it's toxic. And people can spend way too much time in there, and they should probably really get outside and feel the grass between their toes and breathe a little bit of fresh air. Um, yeah, I don't think he's hurt long term. I think what could happen though, people are going to um, see kind of what we dealt with the very first cycle with a lot of the FUD, right? Because the optics, because of the chart that looks wrecked beyond belief right now. That's when all the Bitcoiners and all the Eric Walls and all those guys start to talk their shit and say, I told you, see, it was, we knew it was a scam. It's finally crashing down. And meanwhile, we've got everything over here, kind of thing. So um, people will experience that a little bit. Thanks a lot, Randy. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Um,
appreciate it, pal.
and I think they're going to witness that a little bit. They're going to see what we kind of dealt with the first cycle, because that chart is definitely going to be wrecked for a little bit. Is what it is. So, but no, long term, no, it's going to be fine. People are going to forget this happened. The stakers will keep staking. The liquid people will still be liquid.
Right.
I don't think that is going to change a whole lot. For me, I am a fan of staking. Not everybody is, but I prefer to delay gratification a little bit. I do keep a little bit liquid, but um, maybe the timing for eHEX shouldn't be to have stakes end at the top of the cycle. Maybe you want it to end when it's a bear market, so that you're paying not so bad fees, right?
That's what I thought you were saying. Yeah.
So that you can have it liquid whenever it happens to go back up. So time it so that you're in a bear market maybe the next time, instead of timing it at the top when the fees are just god awful. So maybe a new strategy for some people.
I think what is really evident here, like just you saying that, is there is no right answer. I mean, and that is something that's true in all modes of investing. There is no like this is superior to this because X. You can point at a couple of charts, one looks better than the other, whatever, okay. But for that individual to be like, my dad's not gonna stake HEX. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's not gonna happen. But he may have a 60-40 S&P 500 portfolio or something like
Sure.
that, and that's how he'll be able to sleep. And no amount of like arm twisting, convincing, just casual talk, whatever, may be able to change that. And that goes for like different modes of crypto as well. There's people out there, like I was watching Corey and Dane the other day. They're pretty much full bore, like, hey, Pulse X, yeah, we hold HEX, but we don't care about staking or anything. They'll go as far as to say we never should have listened to anybody that told us to do 5 stakes and blah blah blah. Some people will say that. Ewok, you're of a totally different type. There are people that are like you, Johnny Chaos, Randy in the chat, like HEX OGs that I've heard Randy talk about like get 100 T shares or whatever. Like there are people that want to do that in addition to their other investments and stuff. Everybody just has a different view on how they want to handle it, and who am I? Who are you? Who's anybody really to tell them right or wrong? And that's what we're seeing here. Like, I'm seeing these like battles. I don't even want to call it that, but like these back and forths on Twitter, which I'm not saying are like not needed. I think it's inspiring. It's good that we have this kind of polarization. I think it shows that there is an ecosystem here.
Yeah.
But I saw like Matty Allen, a favorite of many, and Sami going back and forth, and I don't know how much vitriol there was. I mean, Maddie called him a liar about something, and this is public. I'm just saying, but and Sami showed receipts of something, and I don't know. I only saw a couple different exchanges, but what I'm realizing is like these guys are not the same. Like Sami is not like day one Hexagon. I worship the ground Richard Hart walks on. Everything he preaches is what I will do. Hail Richard Hart and 15-year stakes. Like he's not that. He's that's actually why I like him. He's an outside observer that kind of independently comes to this ecosystem a little bit. Maddie, is somebody who is there since the beginning and does arguably more for the ecosystem and the notoriety, the publication of it than anybody there is. I think you could count him, maybe there's 3 people like him, Crypto Coffee, and I don't know. I don't want to insult anybody, but I mean, with what Maddie does for outreach is insane. Sami doesn't do that at all. He just makes his own videos. So people are just different, and it doesn't, you don't have to like fit the square peg into the round hole or whatever, with everybody else. Like do whatever you want to do,
Well, maybe that's a good thing, man. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need, I mean, as long as it's still a united front, people can do what they want. And as much as I hate to say it, we always say, I don't want to tell you what to do with your money. Well, there you go. This is a prime example of let people be who they are. And it could upset Richard, but again, it's not Richard's money either. So I don't know. I don't know what there is no right answer really. It is what is right for you is right for you, and it's not right for the next guy. And that's what we have to remember, as we make our way through this journey.
I agree. Yeah. So there's always going to be like people fighting and hate out there or whatever. And again, I mean, while it's not like it does kind of stress me out, like it's weird, like you start to feel yourself kind of getting into it as you're reading through it and stuff. Just remember that, again, I think that polarization is kind of healthy for an ecosystem, but you don't have to necessarily participate in it. But we're all largely united here. Like you zoom out, I mean, we're all united on this front and, wishing for good things. And I think are going to get really good things here in this bull market. So did you have any last thoughts on that one? I wanted to bring up what Alex McWhirter actually said about all this, but go ahead.
Well, let's just answer DJ Moonboy's question here real quick. Want a PHEX run drag up eHEX? It will a little bit, but at this point, A lot of the liquidity between the two has been pulled. Like there isn't a lot on Pulse X, I don't think. The only one that I know of that has it is the Fux protocol and maybe 9 millimeter. I'm not sure exactly. So it's not going to drag it. Like it's they're not tied together. They're not bonded. I mean, we're down to what, a 4-to-1 ratio now, I believe. Maybe even a little bit more than that. So I don't think it will. Plus, there are different cell walls, like the BankX cell wall, which is going to kind of hinder that from going up. It's got to eat through that first. So until they're out, if they were completely out, and I think it would probably pull it a little bit more. But for right now, it's not going to move it a whole lot step in step.